You're not broken. Your mind just needs new wiring. Have you ever laid in bed trying to sleep, but your brain starts listing every mistake you've made since 2014? You try to relax, but your chest tightens. You tell yourself to stop overthinking, but the thoughts get louder. That's anxiety. Not the loud panic attacks you see in movies, but the quiet, invisible kind that whispers, what if I fail? What if they leave? What if I'm not enough? Nick Trenton's Rewire. Your anxious mind isn't about quick fixes or toxic positivity. It's about understanding what anxiety really is, how it hijacks your thoughts, and most importantly, how to take back control. Because anxiety is not the enemy. The real problem is how you respond to it. This book teaches you how to spot the mental loops, calm your nervous system, and break free from thought patterns that keep you stuck. And the best part? You don't have to be fearless. You just need to be aware and willing to rewire. Welcome to Summary Cortex, where we break down the best ideas to upgrade your mind and your life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Anxiety is not the enemy. Imagine this. You're standing at a party. Everyone's talking, laughing. But in your head, you're asking ... Do I belong here? Did I say something stupid? Why can't I just relax like everyone else? You smile, you nod. But inside, there's chaos. This is anxiety. Not always loud or dramatic, but always present, whispering doubts when you want peace. Author Nick Trenton says, anxiety is not the enemy. It's your brain trying to protect you. It's the overactive alarm system, scanning for danger, even when you're safe. But here's the twist. When we start fearing anxiety itself, it grows. We get anxious about being anxious. Take Ria, a college student. Before every exam, her stomach churns, heart races. She tells herself, why am I like this? I shouldn't be anxious. But that self-blame only adds more pressure. She's not just anxious about the exam, now she's anxious about her anxiety. This is what the book calls the second arrow. The first arrow is the stress. The second is the judgment we place on ourselves. Trenton explains, to rewire your anxious mind, you must stop seeing anxiety as a flaw. Instead, see it as a signal, not a verdict. The problem isn't that you feel anxious. The problem starts when you believe that anxiety means something is wrong with you. Truth is, anxiety is normal, but we've trained ourselves to fight it, suppress it, or fear it. Instead, the first step is curiosity. What is this feeling trying to tell me? Can I observe it without getting tangled in it? Just that awareness begins the rewiring. You're not broken. Your brain is just doing its job. A little too well. You don't have to eliminate anxiety. You only need to change your relationship with it. Let's continue untangling that in the next chapter. Chapter 2. The Two Minds. Your brain has two voices, the thinking mind, the logical planner, the observing mind, the quiet witness watching your thoughts. Most people live in their thinking mind all day. They hear a negative thought like, I'm not good enough, and instantly believe it's true. But author Nick Trenton says, you are not your thoughts. You are the one watching those thoughts. Arjun is about to speak in a meeting. His mind says, you'll mess it up. You're not smart like others. But instead of reacting, he pauses. He activates his observing mind and says, ... Interesting. My brain thinks I'll fail, but that's just the thought. And he speaks anyway. Result? He doesn't feel fearless, but he doesn't freeze either. This is power. Chapter 3. The Loop That Feeds Anxiety. Anxiety works in loops. You have a scary thought. You react emotionally. You try to suppress it. Suppression makes it stronger. Now you're anxious about being anxious. It's a trap. Author calls this the anxiety feedback loop. Tina fears flying. Her brain says, what if the plane crashes? She panics. Then she says, stop thinking this. But now she fears flying and fears her own fear. Solution: let the thought come and go. Don't resist. Just notice. The loop breaks when you stop feeding it. Chapter 4. Metacognition, the superpower. Metacognition means thinking about your thinking. Instead of, I'm anxious, you say, I notice that I'm feeling anxious. That one sentence creates distance between you and your emotion. It's not suppression, it's space. Ravi is feeling overwhelmed before a job interview. Instead of spiraling, he says, dash, dash. I notice my mind is racing. That's okay. Just this awareness helps his anxiety feel less personal. That's metacognition. Not fighting your mind, but watching it calmly. Chapter 5. The problem isn't anxiety, it's resistance. We make anxiety worse by resisting it. We say, I shouldn't feel this, or this needs to go away now. But author reminds, what you resist persists. Mira has social anxiety. Before parties, she fights her feelings. Why am I like this? I wish I was normal. But one day, she tries a new approach. She accepts her anxiety, tells herself, it's okay if I feel awkward, I can still show up. That night, she still feels nervous, but not broken, just human. Chapter 6. The myth of control. Trying to control every thought or emotion is exhausting. You can't stop waves from coming, but you can learn to surf. Control creates fear of losing control. Freedom begins when you let go. Ali checks his door lock 5 times every night. Why? To reduce anxiety, but it only brings more. When he begins trusting his own memory and stops rechecking, the anxiety rises for a bit, then fades. Because anxiety is temporary, control traps you, trust frees you. Chapter 7. Thoughts are not truth. Just because a thought feels true doesn't mean it is. Our brain is a storyteller, not a judge. Nick Trenton says, you can't stop thoughts, but you can stop believing everyone. Sana thinks, if I fail this test, I'm a failure. She writes the thought on paper, then asks, is this always true? Has it ever been false? She realizes it's an old belief, not a fact. Seeing your thoughts on paper often breaks their spell. Chapter 8. Emotions need space. Emotions are like visitors. If you open the door, they come in, stay a while, and leave. If you block them, they bang louder. Let yourself feel, without judging. When Daniel loses his job, he feels shame. Instead of numbing it with Netflix or food, he sits quietly and breathes. He feels the sadness. And slowly, it begins to pass. Emotional awareness is not weakness, it's strength. Chapter 9. The power of naming. Give your emotions a name when you say dash dash. This is fear. This is uncertainty. This is just stress. You reduce their power over you. Naming creates clarity, and clarity calms. Priya wakes up feeling off. Instead of panicking, she pauses and asks, what's this feeling? She realizes it's just anticipation, a big day ahead. Naming it shifts her from reacting to responding. Chapter 10. Values over fear. When anxiety says, stay safe, your values say, move forward. Your job is not to be fearless. It's to act according to your values, despite fear. Jay wants to start a YouTube channel, but anxiety says, people will laugh, you'll fail. Still, he posts his first video, because he values expression more than safety. That's courage, not absence of fear, but action in its presence. Chapter 11. The Anxiety Loop, Why It Never Ends. Imagine this. You check your email and see a message from your boss that says, can we talk later today? Your brain spirals, what did I do wrong? Am I getting fired? Did I mess up the project? That's not just overthinking. It's your brain creating an anxiety loop. Nick Trenton explains that anxiety thrives in uncertainty. When your brain doesn't have clear information, it fills in the blanks with fear, and the more you try to think your way out, the more power the anxiety gains. So, what breaks the loop? Awareness and action. Instead of spinning scenarios, try asking, what facts do I actually know? What can I control right now? The loop stops when you stop feeding it. Chapter 12. Stop fighting your anxiety. Befriend it instead. Think of anxiety like a scared dog. The more you yell at it to shut up, the louder it barks. One client in the book used to say to herself, "I hate feeling anxious. I just want it to go away." But that only made it worse. Nick Trenton suggests the opposite. Acceptance. Try saying, "I notice I'm feeling anxious right now, that's okay." It sounds simple, but this shift tells your brain you're not in danger. And once your brain calms down, clarity follows. Fighting anxiety gives it strength. Accepting it takes its power away. Chapter 13. Rewiring through mindful awareness. Remember a time when you were so lost in worry that you missed a beautiful sunset or forgot your coffee even had a taste? Anxiety disconnects you from the present moment. One woman in the book described feeling like she was living life on fast forward, always planning, always worrying, never really living. The antidote? Mindfulness. Not fancy meditation, just tuning in. Pause and ask yourself, what am I seeing right now? What do I hear, smell, or feel? Nick shows how repeated awareness rewires your anxious brain. Not overnight, but gradually, like a muscle. Chapter 14. Thought labeling. Name it to tame it. A man in the book shared this trick. Whenever a scary thought popped up, like, "I'm going to mess this up," he'd say out loud, "That's just an anxious thought." That small move changed everything. This is called thought labeling. Your brain throws random thoughts at you all day. But if you believe everyone, you suffer. Labeling lets you take a step back. You don't try to erase the thought. You just see it for what it is. A thought, not a truth. Nick calls this mental distancing. It gives you space to respond, instead of react. Chapter 15. Body first. Calming your nervous system. Let's say you're sitting calmly, and suddenly your heart races, your palms sweat, and your chest tightens. No threat, no danger, just a random panic. That's because anxiety isn't just in your mind, it lives in your body too. Nick teaches how your nervous system gets hijacked, and how to reclaim it. The fastest way? Deep breathing, especially exhaling longer than inhaling. Grounding techniques like pressing your feet into the floor or holding something cold. Progressive muscle relaxation. You can't think your way out of a panic response, but you can breathe your way out of it. The body listens to the breath, and the mind listens to the body. Chapter 16. Breaking the what-if habit. Imagine you're planning a trip. Instead of excitement, your brain starts asking, what if the flight gets canceled? What if I forget something important? What if something bad happens? This is the what-if trap, an anxious mind's favorite game. Nick Trenton explains that our minds are wired to scan for danger, but when left unchecked, this wiring creates a never-ending loop of hypothetical disasters. Real-life example, Sarah, a college student, would replay scenarios before every presentation. What if she blanked out? What if people laughed? She'd stress so much that she often skipped them entirely. Nick suggests this three-step method to break the cycle. Awareness, catch yourself mid-what if. Label it. Say, this is a what-if thought, not reality. Refocus. Shift to what is happening now. You train your mind to stop chasing imagined chaos and start dealing with real moments. Chapter 17. The false urgency of anxiety. Anxiety often wears the costume of urgency. It makes you feel like everything is an emergency. Nick Trenton shares that anxiety tricks your nervous system into thinking that even a delayed text reply is a crisis. Think about John, who would feel intense stress when his boss didn't respond quickly to emails. His mind jumped to, am I getting fired? Did I mess up? In reality, his boss was just in meetings. The trick here is recognizing the difference between urgency and importance. Try this mental reset. Ask yourself, is this an actual emergency or just anxiety shouting in my head? Rate the issue on a scale of 1 to 10. You'll find most anxious triggers are barely a 3. Chapter 18, The Art of Mental Rehearsal. Your anxious brain is already rehearsing, but usually for failure. What if you could reverse that? Nick introduces the power of constructive mental rehearsal. Real example, before interviews, Emma would imagine herself stammering and freezing. Naturally, she showed up nervous and underconfident. So she flipped the script. She began visualizing herself calm, composed, answering with clarity. Slowly, her body and mind followed suit. Your brain doesn't always distinguish real from imagined. When you rehearse positivity, you prime your system for confidence. Steps: pick a scenario you fear. Visualize it going well in detail. Repeat until your body feels the shift. Chapter 19, Learning to Trust Yourself Again. Anxiety often stems from one deep wound. You don't trust yourself anymore. Maybe a mistake you made in the past still haunts you, or you're afraid you can't handle what's coming. Nick reminds us, confidence isn't about knowing you'll succeed. It's about believing you'll cope, no matter what. Real story. David lost money in a bad investment. Since then, he second-guessed every decision, even buying groceries. Therapy helped him see that one failure didn't define his future. To rebuild trust, reflect on past challenges you survived. List 3 situations you handled better than you thought. Remind yourself, you are still standing. That's proof of resilience. Chapter 20, A New Default Mode. Most people let their anxious brain run on autopilot, but what if your new default mode was peace? Nick Trenton ends by emphasizing one core idea. Anxiety is not who you are. It's just what your brain learned to do. And anything learned can be unlearned. Story. Maya practiced mindfulness for months. At first, nothing changed, but slowly, she noticed space between her thoughts. A pause before the panic. That pause became her power. You can rewire your default settings. It won't happen in a day. But every time you pause, breathe, and respond with calm, you're reprogramming your system. You don't have to fight anxiety forever. You just have to build a stronger you. Conclusion and next book. An anxious mind doesn't need to be your life sentence. Nick Trenton's tools show that with awareness, practice, and compassion, you can reclaim your mind. If you found this powerful, our next book dives even deeper into personal transformation, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. Not just about cleaning your home, but decluttering your mind and emotions. Click to continue your journey to a calmer, clearer you.